Consciousness, the final frontier. These are the voyages into the universe between your ears. Our mission, to explore collective wisdom, seek out amazing secrets, and spread the message of personal potential.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Tim C. Starr, your host for The Universe Between Your Ears. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Gabi Musheyev.
Hello to everyone. Great to be here again.
And we have a fun one lined up today. Normally we have one guest. Today, well, you decide whether it's two or three. We're really excited to welcome Kasey and Brad Wallis. They are renowned speakers, global workshop leaders, facilitators of consciousness and why we are here. Kasey and Brad have been interviewed on more than 400 media outlets, including ABC, NBC, CNN, Fox News, online telesummits, podcasts, and as key speakers at consciousness expos. They offer a message of empowerment, helping humans to create the lives they choose and understand that we are choosing and creating everything we experience in every moment. How do they do that, you might ask? We're going to tell you. Since Brad's near-death experience, they've been conduits for an advanced intelligence named Julius, a higher light teaching group who offers messages of empowerment and enlightenment for humanity. For more than 10 years, Wallises have been inviting people worldwide to embrace their true limitlessness. So fasten your seatbelts and let's blast off to stay with the space theme. Welcome, guys. Happy to have you here. We've been looking forward to this for a while.
Wow, we're thrilled to be here, Tim. Thrilled to be here. These types of shows are what we live for, really. I mean, you know, it's always fun to not have to tone down my weirdness for anybody. So this is always really refreshing.
Yeah, good. Well, we're Gabby and I both really are kind of have sort of a blue collar mentality. We've bought into the Abraham Hicks ideas and all of that, and so we're you know, I tend to be what I call myself a hopeful skeptic. You know, none of us can be 100%. Maybe you guys can, but we can't be 100% positive that any of this stuff is for real until once we cross over. But we're going to go with it and have some fun and see what we can bring to the audience that they might actually be able to turn around and put to use.
Yeah.
So again, welcome. We can jump in kind of almost anywhere. Let's start with this because, you know, when we're talking about channeling, normally what we are exposed to is an individual who the entities or what source comes through. You guys have a slightly different operation going on, don't you? So I understand, Brad, you're kind of...
That's a great way to say. That's a great way to put it.
Actually,
start there and see where it goes.
Yeah, I am.
It's a very blue collar, Tim. It's a very blue collar way of putting it way.
I'm from Chicago. What do you want? Hey.
That's a fabulous way of putting it because I guess you would say, according to human beings out there, yes, what we do is quite a bit different than what a lot of other people do. Our life now is dedicated to opening people's minds and getting them to think a little bit differently, that think of the what ifs in life and some of the other possibilities that are out there that so many people don't want you thinking of.
Our channeling is a little bit different. You're going to see me channeling Julius, but it is a collective agreement. Let's see if I can do my best to kind of explain why that it has occurred the way it is. So Brad was in a massive car accident 10 years ago and sustained a traumatic brain injury. When he crossed over and interacted with Julius, he was physically in the state of not being able to communicate well, having to walk and talk again. And so although Brad is hearing the transmission from Julius like I am, he's physically incapable of communicating that back to you with the speed that I have. But he's the grounding mechanism, and he's really the person that Julius is having kind of a conversation with. When he woke up in the hospital, I started trans-channeling Julius back to Brad, really in an attempt to let him know that he wasn't crazy and that he hadn't dreamt, what had happened to him. So when you have a brain injury, one of the most common things that doctors ask you is, do you hear voices? And so when Brad told his doctor, yeah, but it comes out of my wife, that kind of calmed down the doctor, thinking he was just nutty. So that's how it started.
We all hear that one, I think.
Right. That's how it started. And it's just become this very seamless collective agreement. So Brad is extremely high energy. He keeps me grounded. He keeps Julius kind of coming in. It really just ends up sitting, looking like we're all sitting at a coffee table or a dinner table, having great conversation with each other.
Yes.
But it's an agreement.
So I want to, in case, people who are listening or watching aren't quite getting the whole picture, as I understand it, basically Julius, and we want to talk about who or what Julius is in a minute, but Julius is coming through Brad first,
Mm-hmm.
and then to you.
That's correct. You won't notice anything that isn't seamless on that, but that's how it works.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then let's talk about Julius, because it sounds as if it's a person, a single entity, a single something.
Right?
And you want to fill people in on how correct that may or may not be.
And more broadly, guys, for our audience, intellectuals are sometimes confused about what we mean by channeling. Right?
Yes.
And I think that, if we explain first what channeling means to you, I was privileged to listen to your presentation, and you really were so eloquent. I would really appreciate it if you kind of give a sort of intro to this a little bit.
But channeling, of course, is a phenomenon that everyone does, Gabi. Everybody does. Artists do it, musicians do it, writers do it. It's just grasping thought from a higher place, a broader place. It's a creative place for a lot of people. And that doesn't seem abnormal at all. I mean, that's our day in, day out experiences as human beings. We get what we call pings, ideas for something and ideas for that. You get into the flow. Professional athletes call it the zone.
Athletes are constantly referring to channeling the zone.
Yeah.
And it's a place that you go to where you feel as if you're not existing in this body.
Yeah.
It's an out-of-body experience. And boy, if you talk to athletes, especially professional athletes, they'll tell you all the time that they feel something that's outside of them, no matter what they're doing, and it's just a reaction that they're doing.
Yeah. Channeling is a little bit different. Esther Hicks, myself, Jay-Z Knight, many of us are trans channels, and that means that our conscious awareness state kind of dissolves into the background as this intelligence uses our physical embodiments to communicate through. It can seem really, really strange for some trans channels. I've been lucky enough that Julius has been kind to me. And at first it was a little bit mechanical, very, very rough, and almost a little bit spastic to watch. But after 10 years, we've gotten an agreement going that they aren't to make me look overly strange. And that's basically what you're going to experience. Very quickly into the conversation, you will notice that there are a couple of key points that you'll know that Julius is speaking.
The biggest point is when they start making the comment master. The minute the word master starts being brought into the conversation, Julius is here. You'll also notice that Kasey, she kind of lights up just a little bit. So we've had some people actually say that she looks like she gets a little lighter. Also, her hands get very animated. So,
and I'm not Italian, so.
And what I also experienced with Abraham Hicks and you as well, that the clarity is coming through you with such speed,
right?
That I sometimes have to pause and catch up to your, the messages that you're trans-channeling, or how you call it, right? And it was just amazing that we as receivers, right, sometimes need to pause, but there is such depth in what is being said that you basically go back and contemplate, and you really come away with a sense of appreciation and even like enlightenment, a higher appreciation of
I truly appreciate you saying that, because we will tell our listeners that when you listen to us now, you will get one meaning. But if you go back and re-listen to what we were talking about, I can guarantee that you're going to get another message that just completely wasn't in your thought process at the time that we were talking. So our programming or our interviews can almost become timeless in a way.
Yeah, very much so.
You can never get all of the messages, you just can't do it, right?
No.
As on that conscious level, it's just not possible.
Right.
Right. Yeah, we all have our human filter, unfortunately. I tell people that despite all of my efforts, I still find myself being a human being sometimes. So we do the best that we can.
Your images are just deflated. Just like, you're human? All right. Okay, so I think we're
back to Julius. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. Sorry, let's sort of let people know who or what Julius is, and
okay,
then maybe we've kind of got all our foundation laid, I think, from that point.
Yeah, Julius is a group of the easiest way to put it in human terms is highlight energy. There's different phases, different groupings, different levels of energy on the earth. Science knows that. Science tries to jumble their information within a certain wavelength or within sound waves or hertz range. Julius's energy is way above that. It's way beyond that. It's high energy is the easiest way to put it. Plus, the thing that is so fascinating about them is the group themselves have been human. Everyone who's in that group has been human at some point or another, and so their meanings or their information that they give to us is very relevant to the human existence.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. So in a nutshell, what Brad is talking about, there's different levels or seals of consciousness, and human beings are working their way through those levels of consciousness. Eventually, we'll be able to ascend their physical bodies off the realm. Julius and other members of this group did that. Julius lived their last physical life about 1,500 years ago here on this Earth ship and shared that life with Brad. Julius is kind of the forefront energy of the group. The reason that you'll hear usually channeled beings refer to themselves as groups is because in a high consciousness state, you go back to the collective perspective that we are all one. It's a very, very human perspective or low consciousness of separation or I. You'll hear Julius refer mostly in a we or a plural statement for themselves. Sometimes, depending on the audience that we're speaking to, they'll use an I fluctuation just so that people in the audience can relate to what they're saying, because Julius will realize what state of consciousness that they're in.
Okay. All right. So I think we're
ready to roll.
I can't think of anything else that we need to sort of explain ahead of time. So
Yeah.
And they're ready to roll.
You'll
So,
get in the flow, and it's really just kind of super cool. I mean, we tell people, you know, they've listened to Julius for a long time. They're like, yeah, it's just like sitting down and going to lunch with an old friend that knows you really, really well, and that you can talk to about anything. You're safe. You're never judged. And they seem to always really make you feel really good about yourself, and certainly hopeful about things that may be resistant to you right now.
All right, great. So how do we start?
just ask
I think you're already starting.
Why are we here?
Yeah.
Why are you
Start with a little one.
Why are we in this physical time and space reality? What are we doing here?
So, Master, we will tell you that you are thought, all thought, slowing itself down into light particles. You are source as a light being. Source, in our definition, is all thought or consciousness. Now, if you can imagine the magnitude of what all thought would be, this isn't human thought, Master. This is all thought possibility. It is like a substance that exists that light beings have the opportunity to use to create a reality for themselves with. In doing so, you expand that thought into an even further version of itself. So as a light being, you are expanding thought into an infinite possibility of itself. As each one of you processes a thought, feels a way about it, and demonstrates it through an experience. This is the manifestation process that everyone speaks of. And so why did you come to the physical realm? Because the physical realm is an extraordinary platform, Master, that you created from thought in order to demonstrate your thought on, in order to know source through a physical experience. The source will know itself through all possibility. Physicality is just one of them.
So we are experiencing ourselves.
Exactly.
Right? Enjoying ourselves. And are we implying that at some point we were not able to do it, or
No.
I guess didn't have a desire?
It's not about ability, Master. It's about desire. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So we describe what is called the creative process. The creative process. There was a vastness of all thought that has always been. It is everything around you.
And it always will be.
Mm-hmm. It is all existence as a truth, but not a knowing. A truth, but not a knowing. Knowing meaning you know something once you have experienced it. Once you have experienced it. And in a desire to know itself as all thought, Source started to slow its energy down ever so slightly, and contemplation took place, contemplating a thought. In that moment, light particles appeared. Now, science knows this. Science can take a cylinder encapsulated with pure energy vibration, and if they slow it down, shit starts to show up inside the cylinder, okay? Mm-hmm. You are that light particle launched from thought, feeling itself. And you were magnificent as light beings. You danced in the heavens. You intermingled with each other. You were in such a state of joy, having finally been able to see yourselves as a truth from original thought. And you stayed like this for eons, in a desire to continually expand itself, which is the ongoing momentum that all of Source is. Continuing that same pattern, you started to slow your energy down, and positive and negative gastric movements or ions started to develop and intermingle with each other. This is an extraordinary process, a further slowed down version of thought, Master, all the while learning and discovering more and more truths of itself through demonstrations. Okay? Continuing that pattern, you slow your energy down. Particles of matter start to adhere. Texture, shape, form. You are like an artist using all kinds of material, endless materials, to know the thought that you think and feel about and demonstrate it as a truth. And this is happening simultaneously for a countless amount of thoughts and light fragments.
That's very interesting. Now, that's about us human beings, right? Now, what of animal kingdom then? What
Same
are they?
thing.
Same
So
thing.
we support, Master, that a soul is anything that can feel an emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And you just put different costumes on in order to change your perspective.
Or to witness an experience.
Mm-hmm.
We know that plants have feelings.
Yep.
That's a soul's experience.
Yeah. Same with all
Same
the
with
other
animals, same with humans. There's some humans that have no feelings whatsoever. But when you begin to understand that you are a soul experiencing your experience as a human being,
right,
then it completely changes your perspective as to what you are doing here on this earthly realm.
Yeah, a human embodiment, Master, is just a perspective. It is just a perspective for a soul.
That's a
Thank you.
concept and that's a concept that is simple on the surface.
Very complex.
Yeah, we're energy having a physical experience.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then maybe the next step is, okay, so I'm energy and I'm projecting thought and creating a physical realm.
Right?
I'm projecting my physical body, but I'm conscious in my physical body.
Right.
That's the thing that's like, the sparks start to fly.
Right.
So there's so many. Why aren't we able to be aware of more than one consciousness or reality at any one time?
You can.
We're like,
we can. And we absolutely guarantee you, Master, that millions of people do. Millions of people do. But this is directly related to how broad-minded you are and what you allow yourself to accept as a truth. Because your reality, Master, is created not just by the thoughts that are floating around. They are the thoughts that you accept. If you had any idea how much thought you reject on any given moment, you would be ashamed of yourselves, really. But as you go on conscious journeys and you have extraordinary experiences, you open your minds to possibilities.
I wanted to add to that the ironic part to all of that is human beings only think about the same things. All human beings think about the same.
Yeah.
It's all the same.
That huge 3% that you use of your brain.
It shows up in your brain, and it's only 3% of your brain.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a small percentage of people that have expanded their thoughts. Einstein, great example.
Socrates.
Okay? Socrates.
Mm-hmm. So, Master, let us explain that just a little bit, if we may. So your physical brain is extraordinary, Master. It is extraordinary. Of course, everybody knows that. And the physical brain is made up of different densities, deposits of water. If you were going to slice your brain open, you would see water coming out of it. But science knows in different areas of the brain, the water is denser than other areas. And the reason for that, Master, is because water is the conduit for electricity, and thought lives on different currents. Okay? Human beings not only use 3 to 5% of their brain, but they use the same 3 to 5%. You have saturated yourselves with likened energy, frequency, thought, acceptance. You do this through your social consciousness institutions that allow you to be here and to be accepted through punishment, reward, agenda, requirement, good, bad, participation, non-participation. And so you think the same, okay? You think low consciousness, mostly in fear, Master, mostly in judgment. The rest of your brain is just waiting. It's just waiting for the opportunity for you to go farther and grasp a thought that you had never even considered and let it come in. And when it does, electricity fires and your brain starts to wake up. And then that area is alive and can continue to grab thought of a higher frequency. And it ignites and it ignites. And you know that your physical brain can aid your physical body into miraculous occurrences if given the opportunity. The only difference between genius and average, Master, is your desire to expand beyond what you currently accept. And a genius knows this: your brain does not create thought, it receives thought. That means that anything that you think about is someplace. You cannot have a thought that isn't true. And so when a genius has a thought, he or she knows it exists somewhere, and they make that truth known and demonstrated to everyone. It's a drive. It's an absolute for them.
That's what Einstein was actually working on, was trying to prove that.
He was working on that theory to show everybody. It's all about the fact that the brain does not create a thought, okay? Now just imagine this. You were a child. What did you imagine? What did you imagine before it got severed from you, from everybody who told you to be practical and get responsible with your behaviors and your thoughts? Those places and those things are. Now, what if you were driven because you knew they were, because you saw them and you felt them to show them, and you would be a genius in your culture. Even somebody who has a brain injury can activate dormant parts of their brain, and it is amazing what they can accomplish.
What purpose does the brain serve?
So the brain has the opportunity to teletransport the physical embodiment into the demonstrations that you can imagine. So this is where miracles occur, once again providing an even deeper knowing of oneself,
Yeah,
if you see...
You almost want to call the brain the microprocessor of the human body, okay, on technical terms.
Fabulous.
Because, as I always say to people, if the brain was so important for you, why don't you take it with you when you die?
So the brain also allows this, Master. It allows a vision or thought to be seen internally and give your soul the opportunity to feel it. So we support, Master, that a soul is an emotional processor of thought. Most people don't even know what a soul is. They'll say, well, the soul and the spirit, they're kind of the same thing. And, well, we don't know. We're telling you, the soul is the emotional processor of a thought. It takes a thought and makes it move. A thought comes into your pituitary gland. It's this little flowering thing out of the frontal lobe of your brain. It transports itself to the pineal, and almost simultaneously, you hit it with a feeling. That turns into an electrical current. It runs through your midbrain, hits your rear cerebellum, and is shot through your whole physical embodiment, through your circulatory system, and you quite literally become your thoughts. That's what your body does. That's what your brain does. It takes thought and emotion and demonstrates them fully, physically. Then, after all of that, it is projected out your physical embodiment. The universe matches that vibration in an experience to once again demonstrate back to you what you know.
May I ask just a clarifying question here? I followed your process, right? So the emotion as a response to that thought, right?
Right.
Who is driving this?
You are, your soul.
My soul is driving it. So then,
Your soul is
if I choose to feel bad about something, and now
And you do.
it goes all over my body, and as you were saying, right, as a
Yep.
current, right?
Absolutely.
That may
Turns
not be
into
so
shit.
good for my experience, right? To feel bad about something.
Right.
Why would my soul even expose me to feeling bad then?
Because it's an experience, Master, that will always expand you. All experiences expand you, and your soul is not governed by judgment. Humans are. Humans are. Now, what most people don't realize, Master, is this. They mostly don't realize they're choosing that. They think they are victims. They think that someone else is making them feel bad. They think something outside of them is causing this reality for them. That's a disempowered state, and it is very useful for those that want to control you. When you come into the knowing that you're making all of these decisions after you get over being pissed off about that, you usually embrace it with that empowered enthusiasm, and you start walking consciously. All that means is that you walk choosing your thoughts consciously, choosing your emotions consciously, and you can create your reality, rather than having it be an offset byproduct of stuff that's going on where your life ends up very chaotic.
What made us choose the unproductive emotion, in response to something, instead of recognizing its potential for expansion?
You did, Master, by giving up your power to people who punished you for having it.
Mm-hmm.
Through civilization, you have been governed. The minute this dimension turned into a realm, control took place. And it's very easy to manipulate you through pain. You were not even allowed those thoughts, and you were killed. Your family was killed. You took them out. You gutted them. You got rid of them. And this is a byproduct of centuries of it's still this way here now. That's what happens. Repetition, repetition, repetition. But all of that is governed by the altered ego state, Master. And the good news is your soul is very steadfast in what and who it is. So it will win, if there is such a thing, in the long run. And since there's no time, you can either look at it as quick or slow, but that's also your perspective.
Can you, you mentioned both of the things that I wanted to ask about, but you just talked about the term altered ego.
Yes.
And that's a term I have not heard from anyone else.
So let us speak of that, Master.
Please,
let us speak
please.
of that.
Yeah.
Please, yes.
The altered ego, an easy way to put it, and then I'll turn Julius loose on you. The altered ego comes with the suit, the human suit,
No, the ego
so to
does.
speak.
The ego does.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, Master, when you came into the physical realm, first you had created the physical realm. You were the last physical configuration that you created. You were so impressed by the extraordinary earthship that you had created. You wanted to play on it. You wanted to interact with it, and you could not do that being a light being, for light passes through matter. So you had to configure a three-dimensional physical embodiment so you could interact with the three-dimensional realm. You could smell it, taste it, see it, hear it, touch it. Makes it real to you, okay? In doing so, you could see and you knew that there were possibilities here on this physical realm for physical harm to your physical embodiment. And so you engaged what we perceive, Master, is an ego state. An ego state, meaning a wisdom that helps you prevent harm to your physical embodiment. Just a little cautionary guy in there so that you won't burn yourself up and jump off of a cliff and eat poison. It was a very small part of your existence here, Master. You mostly came with this extraordinary expanded mind of enthusiasm, of magic, of no judgment, and you danced on the realm in aspects of joy, and occasionally your little ego might kind of ping you a little bit and say, don't eat that plant. that's probably going to make you sick. That's what it was. But through the engagement of fear, judgment, and punishment, it grew to what we state is an altered ego state, massively blown out of proportion, and it is what has started to govern you. So we want to tell you that we speak very specifically that you have an overinflated, altered ego. Your ego is necessary as a physical being for survival on the realm, but your altered ego has kept you here.
Okay. I'll accept that.
Wonderful.
That's one you can contemplate.
Now you're going to
Yes,
tell people,
absolutely.
get your altered ego out of the way. Get your altered ego out of the way.
Well, you know, I was completely with you to the altered ego when it got bigger. So that's the part I need to chew on a little bit to wrap my head around.
That's one of the byproducts of being here on the earthly realm.
Yeah.
Is that altered ego gains more power and more power and more power.
Yeah.
We've all made decisions in our life where we haven't felt good inside, and we don't know why we went ahead and made the decision, and down the road something happened and we said to ourselves, boy, I should have just listened to what myself was saying to me. Instead, we went with, boy, this isn't going to make me look very good. Boy, we really need to do that.
I have to do it to be accepted.
You have
to do it to be accepted.
You have to do it to be accepted in today's world and society. Welcome to the altered ego.
Yeah, yeah. So, Master, your physical body, Gabi's going to love this one. Your physical body was never meant to decay.
It was never meant to age.
Do you know that the biochemistry of your physical embodiment is designed to be continually in a rejuvenating state? Through the high frequency thoughts and the unleashment of continual hormone flow, your sacrum fluid or your spinal fluid is designed to put a reverse nucleonic spin on all of your cells and atoms in your physical body to continually rejuvenate your body. And you have that when you are in high frequency of loving thoughts with no judgment. And if you are aging, then your altered ego is dominant for you, because it is a filter system that sees everything through the low vibration of fear, stress, anxiety, worry, concern, judgment, punishment, reward, and it erodes your body. It slows your energy frequency down, and you're in a constant erosion process, but you were not always that way.
You're going to love this. You said that I'm going to love this, because I'll tell you what, as I was getting ready for this beautiful co-creative experience, as we like to call it, right? One question was floating around my mind. I swear to you, I was thinking one question, if I want to ask that, because I listen to a lot of stuff, and the question was about aging. Right? And then you're saying that I'm going to love this. It was kind of spooky.
No, it's not.
Here's the other great news, really great news. As you raise your consciousness, Master, your body starts to slow down on the aging process. Yeah. The more you process high frequency thoughts, the more you tame down that altered ego state, and the more that you live in joy, Master, extraordinary things happen, even physically. Yeah. Everyone knows by now, we hope, but not necessarily true. What we still say they do, they just don't want you to know, that joy heals. Joy heals. It's the energy of joy. Because when you are in joy, you are not worried. You cannot hate, and you cannot have stress. And in those moments, the frequency is so high as it shoots through your body, it heals things, at least for a moment, at least for as long as you hold that state of joy. That's a perfect demonstration of what we're speaking of. So as you walk on your conscious path, and you gain enlightenment, you gain joy, Master. You gain joy. You can suspend your physical body. You could reverse the age process if you want, but at the very least, most people would even be very joyous about slowing it down.
Amazing. We touched upon a little bit about the society and the altered ego, right? If you, I came from I should bring it up a little bit here. I came from a collectivist society, let's put it this way, right? From the East Coast, and I mean from the East Hemisphere and into the West Hemisphere, where I found myself in the society where it was really individualistic, right? It was all about expressing your individual traits and celebrating them, right? Which was unheard of from where I came, right? It was actually not polite to do it, actually disrespectful.
Yes.
And how do you explain that altered ego is progressing more in some areas, while in others it's kind of a little? Is that like a balance act here going on, or what do you?
No, it sucks. It's everywhere. It's fear, Master. It's just plain fear. It just is.
And if one area gets a little less fearful, boy, they're going to drive them right back down to where there's a whole hell of a lot more fear in the world. And most people don't even understand what in the world they're afraid of.
The Earth ship is wrapped in many packages of fear, Master. That is the truth. It comes in all shapes and sizes, and it wraps itself in religious doctrine, society acceptances, economic system, government systems, educational systems, everything. Belief systems from religion to religion are generally extremely fear-based. Anything that tells you that you are not the God that you are worshiping is disempowering you. And it is the piling of the crap process. It's the snowball effect. Then, of course, Master, you have one of the big number one altered ego states here is the prejudice that you get to experience when you go into other spaces and other places and other thought processes. So you get slammed with that version of the altered ego, okay? The good news is that you can create a whole different experience for yourself. That is a truth. We will tell you that staying centered amidst distraction creates your whole reality, which is why and how the Earthship is a hologram, Tim, because everybody creates their own experience through their thoughts and their emotions, and so it would have to conform to your perspective. As each of you decides to grow your minds and open your hearts and see the possibility of the all, it starts to slow that altered ego down. It's nice. It's really nice. What's really great is you become this extraordinarily compassionate and kind person. And you're peaceful and you're calm, and people say, "What are you doing? Why are you happy? Why is your life okay? Why aren't you angry anymore?" And you say, open your minds, and it spreads. That is coming, but each of you have to do the work yourself. There isn't going to be a magical fairy that's going to come and sprinkle fairy dust and fix it for you. You get to fix it yourself. That is your composition of your free will component.
There, you keep reminding me, there's a book called Up from Eden, written by an American philosopher named Ken Burns. And in a nutshell, he basically says that the process of human psychological evolution, I guess, it mimics the human physical experience. We show up essentially in an infant state. We don't know separation. We're just, as far as we know, it's all happiness and we're part of everything. And then at some point, there is a recognition that we are not that smiling mother face we're not connected. Mother walks away, suddenly we're all alone. And we
Or when
realize,
they shove a needle into your ass and tell you you're going to die without the inoculations, that might scare you a little bit too.
yeah. So but the whole, eventually we come around and we start getting enlightened and as a whole, as a race, the whole population. And we eventually get back around, come full circle to understanding and experiencing that connection, that oneness. And he basically says that this is kind of it's a game. It's something that that Source is doing essentially for entertainment. It's sort of like rolling out all the pieces onto the board and letting the game play out. And when we finally get there, after who knows how many eons, they're just going to scoop them all up again and roll them back out and start over. Is that accurate?
We support, Master, that you are the Source playing the game.
That you are the one who's playing the game. Each individual is playing their own game
To know themselves as
to
the all.
know themselves as the all.
Mhm.
And all of us, the whole group combined, and that would mean everybody who's playing in your game, have all agreed to play that game to allow you the experience.
And theirs. And of course, Master, this is just speaking still from an individualized perspective of separation and disempowerment, that this is just going on as a human. You are going on everywhere as souls. There's no such thing as aliens. Alien is just something you're not familiar with, okay? Beings that live in the interdimensional realms around you. There's no empty space sitting around you, Master. It's filled up with life, existence, emotions, and possibilities. And it all continues in what we call the never-ending perspective of the now. The great news is, Master, you will never be done. And that's good because you will never come to an end. You will just always know more and more about who you are.
We're done, aren't we?
I thought what you mentioned about this ability to choose,
Yes.
that being your essential free will, right?
Yes. Is that?
So, that's amazing, right? Now, when we bring up a child into this world, right? Or some might say when another soul chooses to come to this world, right? To correct myself. Is it your thinking, and if you can channel that, do they choose where they come to, what environment they're gonna come
Of course.
into reality?
Of course.
Yeah. So then when they do choose an environment that looks like trouble,
Yes.
why would they do that?
For expansion,
What
Master.
a better way to experience that in your life than to plant yourself right in the middle of it.
Well, Master, we have never met a strong soul that had it easy.
Mm-hmm.
And you are all one.
Do they want to learn to practice free will and still kind of like overcome those challenges? Is that what expansion you're describing, right?
Yes.
Basically.
So, Master, through every thought and emotion experience, you have the opportunity to know yourself as Source. You know this from every angle, Mostly, it is from the angle of how powerful you are amidst adversity. That is the truth. That is really where your strength comes. Now, we understand that a good portion of physical embodiments just fall into the victimhood role, and we understand that. And that is you not knowing yourself as Source, which also inevitably expands you into knowing yourself as the all, if you can grasp what we just said, okay? The good news is, Master, that all souls are safe. All souls are safe. That anything physical is a temporary thing that happens that carries you into the desire to know more, because this is also what's extraordinary. Conscious desire and awareness often comes in the last hour, so to speak. It's like you've tried everything else and you still just can't find that continual state of joy. And you get your guts full of being a victim and you finally say, I'm not doing that anymore. And you got to wrangle yourself up and you got to power yourself up, because then you're going to start judging yourself for being so stupid as to be a victim. And we say, don't do that. That's a waste of energy. That's a waste of energy. Let's just move you. Let's just move you. And we do understand the limited perspective of the human race that sees anger and violence and harm and tyranny and control as a bad thing. But in ultimate consciousness, it's just an experience. Again, that's actually really good news. As you grow your consciousness, you will grasp this concept more fully and have a deeper and deeper understanding. And then people will say, well, why does it happen then? And we say, because that is a demonstration of someone who does not know themselves as source. So when you are source master and you know yourself as source, the fully empowered being that you believe exists on some kind of a throne with some kind of a crown on its head, you understand that all others are source as well. And so honoring takes place. Compassion takes place. So this realm and all realms, Master, will be saved or healed, or what we say, shifted into another possibility when everyone knows their source. Because then compassion becomes the order, not control. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
So, can I put another spin on that?
Yes.
If what we're here to do is experience everything,
Right.
because everybody here is everybody here.
So
There's
let us jump in really quickly, Master, please.
Sure.
You are here to experience aspects of thought relevant to the physical in order to expand that version of that which is source, because source is a never-ending, multifractal possibility of thought for itself. So this is a version of yourself knowing yourself, like
Right.
your toe getting to know itself.
Hi, this is Tim Starr. Thanks for joining me and Gabi on the universe between your ears. We really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us for a little while. And we'd like to see you again. So be sure to subscribe wherever it is you're consuming the podcast from, whether it's YouTube or Stitcher or iTunes or whatever the hell else is out there. We want to see you again. We also want to hear from you. So let us know what you think of each episode. Let us know if you've got an idea for a future episode that you think would be just killer. Absolutely, let us know. All right? Thanks again, and we will see you next time around. Bye-bye.